Hello everyone and welcome to another podcast of Bookers. This is Amen and I'm really happy to create a podcast for you. It's the turn of part 10, the flying island of Laputa. I had only been at home for about 10 days when a friend of mine asked me to join him on a journey to the East Indies. I still wanted to see more of the world, and as he was offering to give me double the usual pay, I managed to persuade my wife to let me go. The voyage took 8 months, and after stopping for a short time in Malaysia, we arrived in the Gulf of Tonkin. I will have to stay here for a while on business, my friend the captain told me. But you can take the ship and some of the sailors go and see what you can buy and sell in the islands around here. That sounded interesting to me, so I agreed. Unfortunately, we sailed straight into a terrible storm, which drove us many miles eastward. Then, by a very unlucky chance, we were seen and chased by two pirate ships. Our ship was not fast enough to escape, and the pirates catch us. They decided to keep the sailors to help sail the ship, but they didn't need me. I suppose I was lucky they didn't kill me. Instead, they left me alone in a small boat in the middle of the ocean, with only enough food for a few days, while they sailed away. I am sure the pirates thought I would die. However, I saw land some hours later, and I managed to sail the boat to it. As I stepped out of the boat and walked up the beach, I noticed that although the sun had been very hot, the air suddenly seemed cooler. At first, I thought a cloud was passing over the sun, but when I looked up, I saw to my great astonishment a large island in the sky between me and the sun. It was moving towards me, and there were people running around on it. I waved my arms and shouted as loudly as possible. Help! Help! I cried. Rescue me! When the island was about 100 meters over my head, they let down a seat on a chain, and I sat on it and was pulled up to the island. I had discovered the flying island of Laputa. Laputas are certainly strange looking people. Their heads always turn either to right or left. One of their eyes turns inwards, the other upwards. Their main interests are music and mathematics. They spend so much time thinking about mathematical problems that they don't notice what is happening around them. In fact, rich Laputans employ a servant whose job is to follow his master everywhere. The servant warns him if he is going to step into a hole and reminds him to reply if someone speaks to him. I was taken to see the king, but had to wait for at least an hour while he struggled with a difficult mathematical question. However, when he had finished, he spoke politely to me and ordered his servants to show me to a room. For dinner, they gave me 3 kinds of meat, a square of beef, a triangle of chicken, and a circle of lamb. Even the bread was cut into mathematical shapes. In the evening, a teacher arrived to help me learn the language, and in a few days I was able to make conversation with the island people. Laputa is a circle of land about 8 kilometers across, covered with houses and other buildings. It's moved by a simple machine which uses magnets to pull the island closer to land or push it higher into the sky. The island always moves slowly. It can only fly over the country called Balnibarbi, which belongs to the king of Laputa. It's difficult talking to Laputans, as they have little interest in anything except music and mathematics. They are, however, very worried about the future of Earth, the sun, and the stars. And then they often discuss this. I heard the conversation about this shortly before I left Laputa. How are you, my friend? One man asked another. As well as can be expected. came the reply. And now, how is the sun, do you think? I thought he looked rather feverish this morning. I'm afraid he will get too hot and destroy himself one day if he goes on like this. I know it's very worrying, and what about the Earth? It's only 30 years until the next falling star comes this way, and the Earth was very nearly destroyed by the last one. That's right, we know that the next falling star is almost certain to get close to the sun and catch fire, and when the Earth passes through that fire, it will be destroyed immediately. Only 30 years, that's not much to look forward to, is it? And the two men shook their heads sadly. After several months on the island, I asked if I could visit the country under earth as the king agreed and ordered his officials to put me down al Balnibarbi and show me around the capital, Lagado. The most interesting place I saw there was the university, which was full of very clever men with very clever ideas. They were all working hard to find better, faster, and cheaper and easier ways to doing and making things. They had ideas for building houses from the roof downwards, turning rocks into soft material, making rivers run uphill, and saving sunshine in bottles. I cannot remember half of the astonishingly clever ideas which they were working on. One day they told me they would find the answers to all these problems. And then their country would be the most wonderful place in the world. Meanwhile, I noticed that the people looked hungry and miserable. Their clothes were old and full of holes. Their houses were badly built and falling down. There were no vegetables or corn growing in the fields. When I visited the school of mathematics, I couldn't understand why the students looked so unhappy. "What's the matter, young man?" I asked one of them. "You look quite ill." "Yes, sir," he answered. "You see, we have only just eaten our lessons for today, and it's made us feel rather sick." "Eaten them?" I repeated in surprise. "Why did you do that?" "Oh, that's the way we learn here, sir," he replied. "Our professors write mathematical questions and answers on paper. Then we eat the paper. After that, we are only supposed to have bread and water for 3 days, while the information moves upwards to our heads. But it's awful, sir, not eating much for 3 days. And we often feel sick." "Excuse me, sir," and he ran past me out of the room. This highly developed system of teaching didn't seem to be working well. And that was the end of part 10. Thank you for listening me, and don't forget to like and subscribe my channel. And goodbye until tomorrow.